Hello YouTube, this is Warfighter mk12. My next video, I'm going to be talking about SPRs, stands for Special Purpose Rifles, or as I like to call it, Mark 12. As an overview, I'm going to be discussing the history, the development, how to employ it, and then some of the technology / parts that go into building a SPR / Mark 12 type rifle. So to begin with, the concept of the SPR was originally, I believe, and none of this is concrete, this is all just pretty much going from memory and understanding and things I was told by buddies and stuff, as that came about in the late 90s, and it was a need put out by SOCOM. I'm not sure what unit or branch, but some SOCOM unit put out a need for a 5.56 weapon system that could shoot farther and more accurate than the M4A1s that they were currently fielding. They wanted something a little bit more versatile than a M16A2, which was the standard rifle of the military at that time primarily. So they went to the famous Crane Arsenal, which develops experimental and test weapons and theories and equipment for, I believe, the U.S. Navy, but they also develop stuff for the other branches, or I should say the other branches use stuff that is developed by them. So the basis of the rifle originally, it was considered to be a precision weapon. And a lot of people don't like to say precision and 5.56 in the same sentence, but these rifles are actually quite effective at what they do and what they were intended to do. So they started out, they wanted a 18-inch stainless steel barrel. And all Mark 12s have an 18-inch stainless steel barrel. I think maybe some of the very, very first ones had a steel cold hammer forged chrome line barrels, but they quickly, I think they pretty much all became steel barrels quickly thereafter. They had a suppressor mount on it for a suppressor that was specially developed for the Mark 12, as you know, back then suppressing wasn't really done anything outside of special operations, but it was a need, and it greatly enhances the capability of the rifle, even improves accuracy, definitely your noise signature, flash signature, stuff like that. The other thing they wanted to come standard with the Mark 12 type rifle was to have a free-floating forearm to improve your accuracy, because less contact you have with the barrel, the better your barrel harmonics is going to be. And there's two different versions of the Mark 12. You have the Mark 12 Mod 1 and the Mod O. Pretty much all that means is that they're used by different units. I believe Army SF, and I may have this completely backwards, but Army SF uses the Mod 1, which has the PRI carbon fiber free float arm, and then the Mod O has the Knight's Armament free float RAS on it, and that one's primarily used by SEALs and Ranger Regiment. So pretty much that's the only differences between them. They both have the same, come with the same suppressor mount. And originally the gun was shipped as a upper that could be bolted on to a standard M4 or M16 lower, but they stopped doing that because they decided to start throwing a different trigger, because the standard AR-15, well, M16, M4 trigger, you know, can be anything from 4.5 to 9 pounds. So they decided they were going to start putting a two-stage match type trigger in it. I think they ultimately went with the Knight's Armament, or Crane may have developed their own matched two-stage trigger in there. And another development, or another thing they wanted to put into the rifle was the use of an optic. And you'll normally see these weapons with a 2.5 by 10 power optic. The different branches use different optics. I believe the Navy uses Night Force and US optics. The ones I ever saw all had Leupold's on them, Leupold Mark IVs. But whatever it is, a good varial power low to medium range optic is what you want on it. So those are what those usually shipped with. Now that's the development and the history. The rifle was fielded pretty much since 9/11, and it's grown. And now I guess I see documentaries and stuff with Marine infantry units that have a bunch of these Mark 12s. I don't know if they're given to them by the Navy or whatnot, like the Mark 48s that you see big Army running around with now. But you see a lot of the Marine Corps units, they have the Mark 12s for good reason. Another thing that came standard with the weapon was the, I believe, Harris bipods. May have been a different bipod, but pretty sure the ones I've always seen have Harris's on them. If you want a precision rifle, you're going to need a bipod. Just point blank and simple. A bipod greatly enhances any capability of a precision rifle. So now with a little bit of history and differences and who fielded them and whatnot, we'll go into like the theory of use behind a Mark 12. Mark 12 is designed, like I said, to have further range than a M4 carbine. And I like to call this type of rifle a 600 meter rifle. You can pretty easily consistently hit targets at 600 meters, no problem, with this kind of setup using decent ammunition. Not super match, but you're not going to be using a super lightweight bullet in this either. It's great because, especially in urban environments where you don't necessarily need the range of the 7.62 round or a larger round, and you definitely don't want to be humping the weight. So 7.62 weighs twice as much as 5.56. So with this system, it can cut a soldier's ammo load bearing in half, by weight, or allows him to carry more ammunition. Also, the great thing about it is now that in a pinch, you can cross-load ammunition between all soldiers. So if your designated marksman goes down, or runs out of ammo rather, other guys in the element can pass ammunition to him. Yes, his zero isn't going to be exact, as he's probably zeroed it to a heavier bullet. The 77 grain Mark 2.62 is what these things usually always run. But you could still run an M855 round out of it, no problem. Yeah, your zero's not going to be exact, but it's you can still be combat effective, and you could even still walk in rounds if you're using it in a precision roll. It's not going to be a one-shot weapon, but it'll still do. So those are the good reasons behind it. The weight reduction, ammo cross load. Same ammo as every other man in the element. A lot of people, they knock terminal ballistics of a 5.56 round, but to be honest, I've never felt inadequately armed with a 5.56 weapon. I always felt very adequately armed, and I've seen dogs too in Afghanistan, especially the horse dogs, take M80 ball rounds, multiple M80 ball rounds. So I don't think shot placement plays into a big part of effect on target. And the lethality of a 5.56 round is more than sufficient to kill targets. So I'm not even going to open that debate. So this rifle specifically, I call this a Mark 12 rifle. It has some things different, some more modern things. The Mark 12s are obviously older design, and I guess unit dependent. They update them and modify them over the ages because technology changes and stuff. But I'll go over mine. First of all, the biggest difference between mine and an actual Mark 12 is the rail system. I don't have the Knight's armament or the PRI. The Knight's armament is okay. It's not exceptional, but I wanted something that had a continuous top rail, I guess, on it. Just a gripe, not really a big thing. I still have my optic mounted on on the actual receiver itself. You would never want your optic mounted on a rail, because no matter how tight a rail is, it's still bolted into something, and bolts, vibration, movement, wear and tear can loosen up anything that's bolted down. So when you mount your optic on a receiver, nothing's coming off your receiver. It's one forged or milled piece. Nothing's going to change. It's not going to flex or bend. It's not going to warp. That's going to be the constant. So that's why you always want to try and mount your optics to your receiver. Now, if you have a custom rifle that has a monolithic one-piece upper and rail, then yeah, fine, you can do that. But and that's why I like to run this with the Rue Tactical 104 SPR mount, because when using it in conjunction with actually this very optic, the Night Force / US Optics 2.5x10, that's perfect for the eye relief. It's like it was specific, you know, they specifically designed this mount, I believe, like for the Navy, so they could use it on this rifle, and it works beautifully with it. I love it. So that's the mount, and then the optic I have on it, I do have a Night Force 2.5x10 with 0 stop and mil dot reticle. I'm not going to get into the reticle argument today, but I feel the most comfortable for just about all my optics except for extremely long range shooting using a mil dot reticle. And this is, I believe this is, oh, this one happens to be MOA adjustment, quarter MOA adjustments, because I think that's what they had in stock when I bought it, but you can get it in mil adjustment too. So so that's the optic. The barrel I have on here is a super match grade BCM 416 stainless steel barrel, 5R cut. I bought it a few years ago. Great barrel. It is a heavy profile barrel, but you know, this is a match weapon, and heavier profile barrels do produce better accuracy, especially keeping that accuracy for sustained fire, which is what I want. So moving, I guess, I'm not really going in any direction, but moving forward, I got the LaRue Tactical mount with the Harris bipod adapter. I love this mount and I love this bipod because the LaRue mounts have the adjustment to where I can, you know, adjust the axis the rifle rotates on quickly, and it's pretty stiff and has a dial knob that allows me to tighten or loosen that to my preference. The gas block, I believe, is I want to say the gas block is Volter. Yeah, maybe Volter. I don't know. I built this rifle years ago, probably about 4 years ago. So my gas block choice was kind of limited for the quality gas blocks, but it is a pinned gas block, because that was my quality. And I'm pretty sure at the time I bought, there was only one person that was making pinnable gas blocks, low pro gas blocks, and that's who it is. I want to say Volter, but I can't. Don't quote me. Right now, at the end of it, I have a Smith Enterprises Vortex on it. I actually have a suppressor adapter for it. I just been really lazy to put it on, and I almost never run this gun suppressed. And one of these days I'll get around to mounting it, you know, because you got to rock set it and it has to be indexed. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's what I have, you know, in my parts box waiting to put on this thing. But the Vortex, it does a good job at mitigating the flash signature, so it's pretty good for tactical rifle use. Going back, I just have my biggest heart on this rail, which is the VTAC, the 13-inch VTAC rail, is that it doesn't have QD swivel mounts. I actually bought this rail, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's when the VTAC rail had just came out. I'm trying to think of who makes the VTAC rail. It's not Volter, it's oh shit. It's not marked because I have it all painted. Well, I can't remember. I'm sure somebody on this video will chime in and tell me who makes the damn 13-inch VTAC rail. I know it's one of the big companies that made it, but at the time, you know, the Geisley wasn't out. The newer URXs weren't out, so this was pretty much my best option for a free float, lightweight rail, and that's why I went with it. I might change it out later, but you know, I really can't justify it because it does what it needs to do. You know, it free floats, it locks up good. it was well priced, and you know, all I need to mount on it is a bipod and a sling mount on it. The receiver, actually, the receiver I have is the lower is a Rock River receiver that I bought on the super cheap, and I was really afraid about how it would hold up or if it was built out of specs, but it drops free with all my proper magazines. I've used the Tango Down polymer mags, the P mags, USGI mags, and I think some H&K steel mags. And it all drops free, and it locks into places as proper, and it releases, the mag release works properly, the safety works properly. But the trigger is not a Rock River Arms trigger, because those triggers are generally built like garbage. There's two-stage one feels alright, it's just I don't trust it. But this is the Geisley Super Dynamic High Speed. This is like their flagship super duper two-stage trigger. It was like almost 300 bucks, but I gotta say it's one of the nicest AR two-stage triggers I've ever felt. And as far as aftermarket triggers, the only triggers I would ever trust in aftermarket is the Geisleys, and that's actually the only trigger I have on all my ARs right now. Moving backwards, this does have just a standard rifle butt, A2 rifle butt stock with buffer and spring combo. This will be getting changed out because it's fine when I'm not wearing body armor. But when I am wearing body armor, I need something that has an adjustable length on it. So that will probably be getting replaced with a Bravo B5.